Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tech 7 2018. And it's lovely that some of you have chosen to be all the way up there because it's such a wonderful space, isn't it? Today's going to be incredibly exciting because we have inventors and innovators, decision makers, creators, we've got tech gurus, we've got all of these brains and ideas under one roof to make really exciting things happen. And with big issues, we need big change, and it can all happen right here with this little drop of water in Shropshire and ripple out. I think it's going to be fantastic. My name's Vicky Archer. I'm going to be guiding you through your day. And what I've noticed already this morning is that people keep going, oh, we've got this as well. Oh, and this is happening too. So much is going on. Make sure you're part of it all. Make sure you talk to the person next to you, behind you, in front of you. For lunch, make sure you're talking to each other and networking because you never know who you're going to meet. First of all, and I love to kick off on a celebration, I'd like to say congratulations to the housing team of Shropshire Council for the MJ Winners 2018 for Innovations in Finance. Now, I asked what that meant. And that meant they take a tiny bit of money and they make it go an awful long way. And they're the best at doing it. So please give them a round of applause. So a little bit of housekeeping to start with. We're not expecting a fire alarm, so if it goes off, please do take it seriously. You know the way out. You go down the stairs, and then to the left. If you need assistance, the theatre staff will be here to help you. Out of respect, and I know that you would do this anyway, because you're all brilliant people, let's have phones on silent, if possible. Otherwise, I will point you out and just embarrass you slightly. For those on social media, and I know we all are because we're all technical gurus here, right? And I would love it if you were part of this. We have 4 brilliant Amazon Echo Dots that are up for grabs for the most retweeted and the most liked social media images. So you need to know that it is at Tech7, with a R in the middle, obviously, or it's hashtag Tech7 on Twitter, and then we'll be giving 4 away afterwards for the most liked. And there's so much going on. When you think there are wild strawberries and igloos with bridges in, and there are cars and simulators and loads going on today, you should be able to get the most interesting pictures, and fingers crossed, go away with something really exciting as well. Wi-Fi, I know lots of people are going, Wi-Fi? Have you got Wi-Fi? It is Tech7 public. That's it. Dead simple. And to let you know that we are being streamed live as well. So there's a camera there. Hello, if you want to wave, hi. And there's ones at the back as well. So lippy on for the girls and the boys, I think. It is microvideo-online.com. Don't have a look at it while you're here. You're just going to jam it all up. But do share that, and then other people can join in with it as well. Okay, now looking at the guide, I know you all got a copy this morning. It's going to be a really action-packed day. We've got speakers in here. We've got the Hayden Smith room. After this, you are free, once we've had the beginning, to go off and explore upstairs. We've got food on all 3 floors that's going to be happening, and refreshments. And upstairs is going to be quieter. You've got the beautiful balcony as well there. So just walk around and explore and talk and do what you do, really. Now, I think we should start, don't you? I would like to introduce our first speakers, so please put your hands together for Clive Wright, Chief Executive of Shropshire Council, and Councillor Steve Charmley, Deputy Leader of Shropshire Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky, and good morning, everybody. On behalf of Shropshire Council, can I welcome you all here to Tech 7 2018. Can I also welcome you to the UK's best kept secret, Shropshire. We have the world's tallest town crier. We have Westminster's tallest MP. And today, you've got Shropshire's tallest councillor. But it's not all about tall stories. Shropshire is the real deal. For those of you who've travelled from further afield, let me tell you more. Shropshire is the home of Muller Yoghurt. It's the home of the world's first skyscraper, completed in 1797. It's the birthplace of the modern Olympic Games. It's the largest inland county in England. And on top of all that, it's where the story of evolution began. Shropshire, and Shrewsbury in particular, is the home and birthplace of Charles Darwin. And what better venue to talk about the evolution of technology here today? Before I pass over to Clive Wright, our Chief Executive, I want to leave you with a quote from the late, great Steve Jobs. He said, "It's hard to design a product by focus group because sometimes people don't know what they need until you show it to them. We are here to show you today, and this is your opportunity to discover. So on behalf of Shropshire, welcome, and welcome to Tech 7.
Thank you, Steve. I'm Clive Wright. I'm very proud to be Chief Exec of Shropshire Council and proud of my staff who are today hosting the conference. Particular thanks to June, who's coordinated that, and Andy Begley, who's led it. There are numerous others, and I won't mention any because I may miss someone, and I wouldn't want to do that. Thank you also for all of you for attending today. This is a fantastic opportunity to share, and we're already doing that. Already this morning you've had opportunities to share things that you know, things that you can bring to the conference. But importantly, it's a great opportunity to learn. I've just been on the stands outside and looking at how tech is applied to roof tiles and the innovation there, and all of that happening with a business in Shropshire. We have in Shropshire, as the Deputy Leader has just explained, some world-class businesses. We've got world-class university in Harper Adams doing agri-tech. We've got manufacturing companies manufacturing high-end technology components for Formula One engines. And we've got construction companies building off-site using the latest technologies. We're developing with our university, the University of Central Shropshire, just around the corner from here, expertise in environmental health, in environmental technologies and in digital health technologies. And it's the first time that all of those technologies have been brought together in a conference, and that's why you and we are all here today. There's some fantastic exhibits out there, including virtual reality, through to roof tiles, through to digital health, through to high-end manufacturing. It's all here today. Many of those businesses working globally from Shropshire and all over the country. We think that this is an opportunity to launch Shropshire. And in the business breakfast this morning, one of the speakers was talking about how in Shropshire we need to create a start line, and he was relating that to a marathon event, and a start line which will attract businesses and innovators who want to come here, use digital, use tech in order to take their business out globally. We think that we can compete throughout the world. We can compete with major cities, mainly on the fact that we're a great place to live, great schools, great environment. You can breathe clean air here in Shropshire. We're also interested, though, in reaching out to other places. We realise that we're not the only innovators, and innovation works best when you share and work with others. So for all of you who are from outside of Shropshire, and that's a fair number of you here today, I'm very grateful for you coming here, and I look forward to meeting you in the conference later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. My favourite part of that is the fact that Steve Chalmley prioritised yoghurt above evolution and the Industrial Revolution. So that was as a man with his priorities, I like that. I don't know if you have heard about the dementia bus. This is really important and quite... I think it's going to be astounding, actually. There's a chance. You must book your place for it. There's a chance for you to experience what it's like to have dementia with your senses altered. So it's out in the loading bay. So do go and book your place after we've done all of this, and so you can experience what it's like, and that may inform different decisions you make or things that you create in the future. You never know. Now, please put your hands together for Kevin Lewis from Public Health. Look, it's just me going up and down the steps, isn't it? Again and again. My Fitbit will be going crazy soon. Andy Begley instead, please. Thank you.
So to come to the stage and disappoint Kevin Lewis fans, what a great start to this morning. Can I reiterate the welcome to you all to Tech 7 this year? It is fantastic to see so many people here. Let me see if I can master the technology in front of me in terms of a clicker, and I can. The start of this really is that this is me closing Tech 7 last year at last year's conference, and literally it does seem like 5 minutes ago since I did that. That was us dipping our toe in the water in terms of what would the interest be like for an event like this in Shropshire, and it proves to be really very, very successful. You notice that the slides that I finish on there really reiterate some of the words from Steve and Clive earlier today, that in Shropshire we've got form for innovation, whether it's revolution, whether it's evolution, form for both. And I think hopefully what we'll see here, and indeed what is manifesting itself here this morning, is that evolution. This conference certainly is evolving at a rare old pace, and in terms of some of that revolutionary content that we've got for you today, hopefully you'll take advantage of that, go and speak to the different exhibitors and understand what it is that we are doing to push the frontiers of this work across health, social care, housing, right across that spectrum of work. So I've just got a couple of minutes to speak, and I was trying to think really, what do I need to focus on this morning? If you're like me, you'll carry a little book and make loads of different notes. This is my book, and there are some little notes in there. If you can read my handwriting, congratulations. It's a very rare skill set. On the top there, it says big data and complex stuff into simple insight and impact. Finding David, ? That's what I started off thinking, what it is that I want to convey in a very short period of time at an event like this, when we're talking about big data, we're talking about analytics, we're talking about all the technological advances that we're aware of. If this works again. There we are. What I'm trying to show with this slide is just by aligning 3 particular data sets, I just want to demonstrate the sort of outcomes that we can achieve. So very briefly, what we've done in Shropshire, and this is a working example. This is actually happening here and now in Shropshire. We're working with our colleagues in Fire and Rescue Services in terms of supporting them with their safe and well visits. In case you're not aware, those are visits that the Fire and Rescue Services do to households and check the safety of those houses and the individuals in them. And they look to prioritise those addresses that they're going to visit. So actually, by looking through the data sets that we've got access to, we can start to prioritise those visits. The data sets are quite interesting. One's a simple one of age, one a simple one of occupancy in terms of, are you a sole occupier? Do you live on your own? And the third one's an interesting one that we came across. That's, do you live in a thermally efficient house? This is an example of the kind of data sets that we find ourselves sitting on and doing very little with. So a couple of years ago in Shropshire, we commissioned an aerial survey of 90% of the county, looking at how thermally efficient, looking at the heat signatures from houses all across the county on one particular evening. That information sat on our website. It's very interesting. You can zoom down to your own house and find out whether you have the heating on or otherwise, or whether you are, in fact, have a cannabis farm in your loft, which is an interesting sideline to this discovery. However, just looking at the 3 data sets, the thermal inefficiency is really important for this. What tends to happen if you're over the age of 80 and living alone in a thermally inefficient house, you will live in one room. You tend not to move around a lot. You don't heat the rest of the house. All those things combined, there is a likelihood that you will fall, slip or trip. A higher proportion of slips and trips for people of that age who don't move regularly. And also, if you're thermally efficient, you're not moving around the house, you don't make cups of teas, you don't drink enough water, you don't use the toilet enough. All these precursors to UTIs, urinary tract infections. So what we've suggested that if you hit that criteria, then the chances of you turning up at A&E in the next 12 months with a UTI are probably around 80%. Now, once we know that, we can do something to preempt that. We can go into that house, we can support that individual, we can make those changes with grant funding, we can put insulation into the house, we can put emergency heating in there, we can address social isolation, and suddenly we're reducing the chances of somebody entering our care system through A&E or otherwise. So what we'd say is, once we've addressed those issues, perhaps the chances of an 80-year-old coming to A&E in the next 12 months are maybe 20%. Those are ballpark figures, they are indicative, but I hope what you understand from that, and certainly how we engaged health colleagues, was that was enough to say, yes, this is a good idea, let's move forward. So all I'm trying to do very, very quickly with this slide is just get to the fact that all this complexity, all this data, we can still do something very, very simple with 3 little data sets. When we start to consider how we use artificial intelligence and machine learning, we start to crunch through thousands of data sets, hundreds of thousands of data sets. I hope you can see the potential for this. But this is a kind of a working example. Just finish on this slide. I hope you notice how I've seamlessly moved from analog through to digital, it was the best I could do, I'm sorry, through to Dave. The point about finishing on this slide is we talk about tech and we talk about all the good that it can do. At the end of the day, this is about Dave. It's about us finding Dave before Dave finds us. Early intervention and prevention, that's what it's about, and all this is about people and their outcomes. So I'll leave you with that now. Thank you.
I wonder if Dave has a cannabis farm in his loft. I'm sure he doesn't. Now, obviously, Andy Begley was just the warm-up, and fans, you now can go wild because it's Kevin Lewis, Public Health.
Thanks very much, and good morning, everyone. It's really a privilege to be here. I want to just take things back a little bit further in time, I think, from Andy's talk. There's no doubt there's challenging times for health and social care services at the moment. In particular, they're facing much more complex conditions, people who have multiple chronic conditions that they've accumulated through their life. And the budgets to support people in those conditions are struggling to keep up with that demand. So we're going to have to work in a completely different way. We know that. How can we use the technologies we have to work in a different way and support people? How can we keep people well within their communities is the challenge we face. And in public health terms, just echoing what Andy said, it's very clear that a lot of these conditions are preventable. And the situation that we're finding ourselves in of people with multiple conditions later in life is not a normal process of aging. It is a sequence of events throughout life where people have accumulated risk. So the challenge for us is how we address that. And we have a whole host of new technologies to help assist us in addressing that challenge. But we should never forget the human dimension, as Andy has said. We have to understand how people's behaviour is triggered, what motivates people, the importance of social connection and social isolation in people's lives. So I'd like to highlight 2 programmes that are going on in Shropshire that are trying to face up to that challenge and look at it from that perspective. The first is a social prescribing programme called Healthy Lives. And social prescribing is an attempt to identify people who will have barriers and challenges in their lives that, if addressed, would reduce their likelihood of developing these multiple chronic conditions and connecting them back into support services within their community. And this is all about connecting people, both to their communities, but also to their peers and to support services that might help them. At the moment, a lot of these services are provided in communities local to where people live, but people don't know about them. And instead, people are relying very heavily on clinical services. We'd like to see more support being offered close to home, and the Healthy Life Social Prescribing Programme is doing that by connecting people who have risk into their community. So picking up on the data point that Andy made, we are working with GP surgeries to identify the risk factors that lead to people requiring services later on. And then we are connecting those people into opportunities to get support within their community. That might be a wide range of supports provided by a wide range of organisations, particularly the community and voluntary sector. And it might not be conventional medical interventions that we're offering, it might be tango classes. So I'd like to highlight that this is a direction of travel for health and care services that is increasingly important. We need to support people in wellness rather than waiting for them to become ill and demand our services. The second project I want to highlight is the Broseley project, and I would encourage you to go to the third floor and actually find out a little bit more about this programme. This is identifying the opportunity to use modern devices to personalise the support we offer to people. And personalisation is another key theme of what we need to do in future. We need to be removing the approach where we offer siloed services, and we need to be identifying individuals' personal needs and responding to those. The Broseley project tries to do this using modern devices such as the Amazon Echo, Google Home devices that can be programmed to respond to people's needs and to give a personalised support within the home that helps them to manage at home for longer. And this is the key. We need to support people to manage at home for longer. So to highlight these two projects is just to say that the key thing in the technology for us is the human dimension. We want to see this lead to more prevention. We want to see it lead to more personalised support for people, and that support needs to be provided close to where people live, in their communities, from their communities. Thank you.
I knew he wouldn't let us down. The wonderful, wonderful Kevin Lewis from Public Health. Now, I know on the screen behind me, by the process of magic, you'll be able to see what's going on in the Hayden Smith room. So if it's not here, I'm not looking. Maybe. Okay, so in your brochures, anyway, they have the Hayden Smith lineup of who's going to be on when, so you can get your pen out, because there's stuff going on in here and in there at the same time, so you can work out where you want to be. Now, coming up, you're going to be able to hear all about a gym. Don't worry, we're not going to be pumping iron or anything. It's a tech gym. We'll do that soon. But first, I want to introduce Councillor Dean Carroll to the stage, please.
Thank you very much, Vicky. And I think a special hand is deserved to Vicky. Isn't she doing a wonderful job as MC this morning? Now, having a good standard of housing available to people is a key part of building healthy and sustainable communities. In fact, access to good housing can lead to improvements in a person's health and other outcomes. The introduction of the Homelessness Reduction Act in April has been one of the biggest changes in the rights of homeless people in England for 15 years, and it increases the duties that local authorities have to people who are homeless or threatened with homelessness. The Act also makes provision for the greater use of the private rented sector accommodation as one way in which to discharge the prevention of and relief from homelessness, as well as the main housing duties of local authorities. Let us be clear. Accommodation must be suitable in all cases where the council has secured it or helped to secure it, and in certain situations must meet additional suitability requirements. In our view, this makes it the right time to consider the condition of housing in the private rented sector in Shropshire. Shropshire Council's Housing Services team and its partners will be developing a new housing charter
with the intention of working with landlords to improve conditions and standards in the private rented sector across the Shropshire Council area. The aims of the Housing Charter are to increase the availability of good quality, affordable rented property in Shropshire, to improve the safety and comfort of rented property, to encourage a professional and business-like approach to renting, to educate landlords about their rights and responsibilities to tenants, and to provide recognition to landlords who achieve Shropshire Council's Housing Charter standard. And most landlords are responsible people who want to provide a good standard of accommodation for their tenants, whether that be a single property or many. So we believe that educating landlords and providing recognition for those who meet this standard will encourage more to join them. It will also shine a light on those who don't provide a good quality of accommodation and drive change in their behaviour, as well as making them a less attractive prospect for potential tenants. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Councillor Dean Carroll, who kind of snuck on, didn't he, like magic? I like that. So don't forget about the tweeting. So it's at Tech7 or hashtag Tech7. So make sure you're doing that, because there's that chance, isn't there, to win those 4 Echo Dots. Now, Tech Gym, don't run away. It's not scary. We won't make you work out, but I will make you clap if that's okay. Dr. Paul Kirkbright from the University Centre in Shrewsbury, and Councillor Nick Lawrence, please.
Sorry, just send another tweet. I don't think I'm allowed to enter. We were going to do this from the sidelines in the style of Waldorf and Statler from the Muppets, but Paul wasn't in agreement. I'm going to kick this off just with a little bit of sort of what I do. I'm the portfolio holder for economic growth. I get the great job of travelling around this wonderful county and meeting lots of businesses. And the more and more businesses we meet, we have such a high proportion of smaller, 1 to 10 employees, SMEs. In fact, our really big employers, you can count on a few hands. And there's so many companies out there as we travel around in different sectors that really could do with support. And I know from personal experience, because I'm a businessman as well, back in 2007, I developed a product and patented it. But if I tell you that I had to have a prototype made in Chicago, I had to go to Austria to get 3D printing in ceramic for some of the prototype parts as well, you'll realise that people are travelling far. And with what we're about to launch today, I think it gives the businesses of Shropshire a great opportunity to get the support that they need to develop their business ideas and to grow their businesses, because one of the key things we have to focus on in economic growth, not only bringing in new business, but we have to help and support the businesses here and get them to that next stage, because I tell you, there are some innovators out there in this county. There really are. I visit places like, and I know the councillor for Much Wenlock is here, but when you go to Much Wenlock and you go into a little room where there are 3 people and they're supplying all of the data for things like the swingometer at election night, something that us councillors, we do watch all that. But there are people out there innovating, Craven Arms, in Whitchurch, in Oswestry. We've just got such a wide range of people, and it's only right that we support and help them. So to tell you a little bit more, I'll hand over to Paul Kirkbright.
Good morning. This is slightly different in terms of the content to other things that have gone. That you've been told a lot and told about a lot. This is now going to be an ask. As Nick says, the challenge in terms of research, development and innovation for Shropshire is stark. This area is one of the worst performing in terms of participation in structured research and development activities. And if we are going to create the high-level, high-value jobs that will revitalise this economy, then we need to start innovating, and research and development is a critical part of that. What we're launching today is a call to arms. It's an ask. It's a plea to the people in this room, to the organisations, from the tech startups through to the large public and private sector organisations, to collaborate with the university and the council on not the implementation of the tech gym, but actually its design. This is not going to be a tell, this is an ask. And within the context of that, this is the dilemma. Let's stop looking at other places and actually start looking at what's good about what's happening here. And by doing that and focusing on the strengths in terms of research and innovation and development that are already present within this county, we can actually look to bring other businesses here as well. This morning, the university hosted a business breakfast for about 40 or 50 organisations and heard stories from really cutting-edge leading businesses working in the technology field that you'll hear more of today during the conference, but are based here in Shropshire because of the quality of life, the quality of the natural environment, and the fact that it's just such a nice place to live, to work, to study, and be successful. And what we want to do to the Tech Gym is actually start creating spaces that those like-minded individuals can actually start collaborating within. This is the ambition within the Big Town Plan for Shrewsbury, to create innovative, flexible and interesting spaces for that coalition of the like-minded, the outliers, the creatives, the innovators, to come together, to collaborate, to share stories, to share journeys, to share resources. And like Nick said, that will possibly include things such as 3D printing, the latest technology that small startups don't have access to actually collaborate on the development and the creation of ideas. The university and the council are absolutely committed to making this work. And what we say today from this platform is, help us do it. Tell us what we should be doing. Tell us and advise us on what's holding your business back, what's holding your organisation back from innovating, from undertaking structured research and development. And if we can create these tech gyms, and hopefully the first one will be in Shrewsbury, and then rolling out like a ripple effect through the rest of Shropshire, we can actually create places that create knowledge and create opportunity. And that's it. Basically, we have a logo. What we need now is we need people to populate that logo with ideas, with enthusiasm, with belief and with confidence. Because if we collaborate and harness the ideas that are in this room through the lens of the creation and the establishment of the Tech Gym, then I think we can achieve great things for this place that we all love to live and work and study in. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Paul and to Nick there. It's a start, right? The logo, it's a start. The first time I met Nick, he was in Las Vegas at the World of Concrete. It really exists. I laughed as well. Okay, so just to remind you as well that on the third floor, you can find out what the council can do for you with regard to grants and funding for your company. This is a very important place to be. That is not one that you want to miss out. Third floor for that. You might want to write it down. So now, swiftly moving on. This is Joe McArdle, Project Director for the University Centre in Shrewsbury.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for the time. Vicky introduced me as Joe McCall, Project Director for the University Centre Shrewsbury Innovations. Would you prefer that? Actually, yeah, that one. I'm a natural person who walks when I talk. And what the Digital Solutions is about trying to harness this ambition that we've described. It's about building on the great innovation and the history of Shropshire. We've already said we have the innovators here. What we have to do is create the culture and the environment where those innovations can be taken up, be evidenced, and the usage cases of them be shown. Not just in Shropshire, but it's really important we start there, but then as that ripple effect goes out the area. But right to the heart of it, this is about changing Shropshire. We've heard from our previous speakers about the challenges we're facing as a community. And those challenges can be either threats, or they can be real opportunities where we can look at things differently and we can look at things in different lenses and work together around finding those solutions. Digital Solutions is about that. So what I want to tell you about is just what our service offer. We're launching today. It's a joint partnership, partly funded by the European Union for 3 years, partly with the University Centre Shrewsbury, and work alongside the Digital Health Strategy Group within Shropshire Council. So what will we do for you? It's called patience. Sometimes you need to be patient with some of these things. We are about the people of Shropshire. So we have to connect the communities that we're working for and serving with the businesses who want to help and support them. And that can be about how the public sector, how other industries can purchase those services. It can be about how individuals can access these services. Okay. And how will we do that? We will do that by running a series of seminars. We've already talked about the business breakfast we've had this morning. We're going to look at workshops. We're going to look at approaches where we can identify the problem that we're all facing and listen to the different ideas of how we solve that, called hackathons. So that is part of our offer. We'll be running that over the 3 years, as well as identifying the skills that we need and the skills analysis. Because it's great, we can come up with these great ideas, but we have to bring people into the Shropshire area to work in those businesses. But also, we've got to use our current assets. We've got a lot of people over the age of 55 coming into Shropshire area looking for their second careers. We have to help skill those and release the talents they've already got to help address the challenges. So Digital Solutions is about connecting that conversation, connecting those communities in business. It is about providing advice and guidance on the market opportunities and the market variations. Okay. Part of that will be drawing the expert speakers. We've heard this morning from some businesses who've already been down this journey, addressed the problems that we've faced, so they can be our expert witnesses to talk to other businesses and support them into the change and help them to grow. We've also had the opportunity to raise awareness. The council say about what funding can become available. There are lots of different sources of funding. There's venture capital. There is actually more and more focus from this government about addressing Brexit around how they're investing in place and local solutions. So part of our conversation is to build those collaborations with business and ourselves to respond to those opportunities for funding. The next bit is particularly where the university is interested, and Paul talked about the fact that we've got these research strands and we have to try and develop the knowledge in place. And that's important because if we just look at digital solutions in health, the NHS already has 300 different apps that people can use. If you go actually to a well-known personal digital assistant company that we all quite use and get our deliveries from, they have over 3,000 health apps around there. So it isn't always necessarily about getting the great ideas, but it is about creating the environment where those ideas and people know how to use them and be supported around that bit. And that is also looking at those usage cases, provided the evidence of how they're adopted. So we'll provide some of that research and development support for businesses and for innovation support, so we can challenge the myths. The other greatest myth I always hear about is that if you're over the age of 65, you can't really use these technologies. Well, I can tell you, one of the cases I've been working with is about an 82-year-old lady who was given a smartphone and had left it for ages. By just spending 6 hours of one of the school children working with her to how to use it, she's decided the smartphone she was left behind, which was of a certain brand, was only a couple of years old, wasn't good enough for her functions, because she was connecting with her family in Australia and other areas of people she hadn't seen through her life. So the solutions are there, we just have to help connect those solutions. So we'll provide some business advice, we'll look at research and development offer, and then the last thing we also have, Paul talked about the challenges around technology. Technology is changing all the time, and if you're a small business and you've invested in your technology and you want to scale it up to prove that it can work, you might not always want to have that investment opportunity or have that equipment to show it how it could work across a population of 30, 50 people. So we will also use part of our offer to loan that equipment so people can prove how it works across a bigger population rather than a single idea. So we're here to help. We've got a stand on the 3rd floor. I'm happy to take conversations and listen to people what you need around some of those solutions. And thank you.
Thanks very much. So that's Joe McCardle there. Thank you. Lee Tracy has got, he's an inventor, which has got a 3D image of the theatre. That's going to be on the 2nd floor that you're going to want to see. And also, I need you to think of 3 positive words about the conference as well, because that's what Wild Strawberry are up to. They're going to be in the bar. Now, sometimes you meet somebody who's so full of energy, you just think it's shooting out of their fingers and their toes. And this chap has got it by abundance. Please put your hands together for Richard James.
Good morning, everybody, and I'd like to not be the first one, but I'd like to welcome you all here again today. I really like data, and one of the things that I know about the event today is that there are over 600 people, 100 of which are from Shropshire, which means that for a great deal of you, you've come an awful long way, and so some of you a very, very long way. So I want to say thank you very much, all of you, for coming. In essence, the 4 Centres of Excellence, which is what I'm covering today, is it's an experiment in innovation and motivation, pushing development of technology in assisted tech, digital health technology, green technology, and modern methods of construction. When done well, motivation has the power to lead to fantastic innovations and solutions to our greatest challenges. To beat the Russians, NASA was motivated to conquer space. And to get rid of smelly air, Bazalgette built the London sewer system. No one could have foreseen the innovation that followed on from these pioneers. Motivation is an interesting one. And to illustrate the power of motivation, I have stuck £10 notes to 10 chairs in the auditorium, which you can keep if you find them. And to those that find their £10 note first, they win an additional £10 note. So, I mean, if anyone's got a £10 hole in their pocket and they want to fill it, now's the chance to start looking. I mean, right now. But, yeah, exactly. So a few people have got the right idea. Unfortunately, before you get carried away, I am only kidding. I'm not, I know I look like this, but I actually have no money whatsoever, apart from this. And by the way, thank you, Mike, you're not getting this back. If beating the Russians and Febrezing London is enough challenge for a few to make massive changes, then what does it mean for challenges like social care, health, energy, and housing? This is what the 4 centres are for. Why here? Because we have a higher than normal older population, resulting in higher care demands. Being rural, we face greater challenges delivering care and supplying energy. We also have lots of room to build. So why now? Although it's not a case of now or never, the longer we wait, the less we can achieve. So it's less a question of why now, but can we afford to wait? It's a big question to leave hanging, but it's an important one. Back to today, I want you all to take away something from the day, whether it's an idea, whether it's an opinion, or whether it's a connection. It's important that you not only take one of those things away, but also give one back. And for anyone who has any questions or answers and are not sure who to talk to, then please find me. This face, it's ugly and recognizable, but it's easy to find. And for all of those that are deflated by the £10 note, the first person to find me and say or ask something truly insightful, I will actually give a £10 note. So the competition is on. All that's left to say is have a great day, and thank you all again for coming and making the journey here. It actually means a great deal. Thank you very much.
Mike's like, that's my £10 note that you're giving away there. Oh, I love that. It was like, are you looking? Are you looking? I'm not looking either. It's a trap, isn't it? Still. Richard James there from Shropshire Council. Now, I know that on your programme it says a short break. I'm going to sneak in another 2, if you don't mind, but it'll be swift, don't worry. First of all, the temptation to skip over Andy Begley again is immense just for comedy value, but I won't. Put your hands together for Andy Begley, please.
There's nothing like rehearsing this seamlessly. And that's not. Moving on to the next presentation is around something that we've christened the One Scheme. So as soon as the slides catch up. Appear to have broken it already. Could you?
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of time to, hello? 1, 2, 3, hi. I'll give you a little bit of time just while they sort that out. I'll tell you other bits and pieces that are going on, but I'm sure they'll give me the thumbs up soon. There is something, I don't know if you've heard about it, called One Name, One Voice, and it's something I've been involved with, and I think it's incredibly important. It's part of an imaginative and moving art installation. It commemorates men and women of Shropshire killed during the First World War. And it's a series of names. And each name has to be read individually by a different person to make sure that each name is recognised. And it's going to be part of a soundscape. And I'd love you to be involved in that. So that's one name, one voice. It takes seconds to do. All you have to do is to read out somebody's name. That's it. But you'll be part of something really huge and brilliant and possibly overwhelming, I don't know, but do seek that out. That's going to be great. I hope people are tweeting still. You can remember the hashtags and bits and pieces. After we've heard from Andrew and from Andy, we're going to have a bit of a break, but then very swiftly, if you want to go and see stuff that's going on in the Hayden Smith room, you're going to have to get a wiggle on, because that starts at 11:15. We've also got things going on back in here at 25 past with Tim Smith and Gemma Davies, who are going to be discussing growth and investment, followed by our keynote speaker of the day, the Right Honourable Paul Burstow as well. So there's so much to do. Have a look through your programme and work out where you want to be, what you want to prioritise, what you want to see. Are we in any way fixed? I'm just moving backwards to see. Could be? Are we good to go? Great. I'll shut up. Good. Please give them a round of applause again. I think they can start off well.
Okay, thank you. We'll start again with this one. This presentation is about something that we've called the One Scheme. You heard during the course of this morning some of the challenges that are particular to Shropshire in terms of rurality, in terms of delivery of care. And those aren't just, there are some specifics to Shropshire, but in terms of the national landscape just around health and social care, I think many of you in this room understand just what the pressures are like in terms of the demographics, in terms of the supply of workforce, in terms of just the models and provision of care and support for older adults. This particular scheme is trying to break the mould, it's trying to be innovative, it's something different, and it's to provide an alternative to just a direct route into residential care, for example. I will say at the start of this scheme isn't designed to fit everybody. As I say, it's one of a series of alternatives. But what this seeks to do is provide, again, the environment where people can live independently for longer, in housing that is not specialised, in an environment that is comfortable, that is luxurious, people want to live in. So the concept behind this was trying to tick all those boxes of what accommodation needs to look like, what sort of houses people actually want and are able to live in for their entire lives. Houses that, whilst are not specialised, are still adaptable. You can put care into there and additional support as required. Using the technologies that we're talking about today, using some of the modern methods of construction, the idea is to build a series of homes that tick those boxes. Just before I hand over to our colleagues from Greenspace in terms of describing what this really looks like, if you can imagine, broadly speaking, these are 1- and 2-bed bungalows. They are fit for life. They are smart homes. They have lots of technology built in there, and they're luxurious to look at. The business deal behind it is really quite straightforward. Each house approximately is £150,000. For that, you get to live in the house as long as you want. We will maintain the property for you as long as you're in that property, and we endeavour to get your energy bills as low as possible. We're aiming for zero. Whether we ever get there or not is a different matter, but we're certainly aiming to make that as low as possible. What's interesting with this particular deal is when you've finished with the house, you get £150,000 back. Okay? So you never actually own the house, but the deal is it's 150 in, live in it as long as you want. If you should die whilst in that house, then the £150,000 goes back to your estate. That's the simple dynamics. And the idea is that's quite an attractive proposition for people. They can move in straight away and not to worry about many of the aspects of living that cause people problems. So that's the idea. It works very nicely on the fact that not everybody leaves the houses at the same time, and so you can see that there is a pot of money stays within the system. That's essentially how it works. We've only got a couple of minutes to go through this, so I'm not going to talk any further. I'm quite happy to take further questions during the course of the day, so please do try and find me. I'm quite happy to answer those. But in the meantime, if I hand over to the real expert from Green Space, who will tell you all about the design features.
Thank you, Andy. Get the technology to work. I'm Kevin Slack from Green Space Architects. We're based in North Shropshire, but we've managed to export our skills to offices in the southeast and southwest of England too. To be truly sustainable, I would argue things have to be beautiful and people have to love them. Forests and oceans are givens, but they can also apply to things like cars, buildings, even whole communities. At Green Space Architects, we have a long track record of creating beautiful, carefully crafted architecture. And we spend much of our time working to create extraordinary, sustainable homes full of light, air, and connections to the context for values-driven people with the means to achieve this, both in existing buildings and on new build. We've brought these skills to bear on the far-reaching One Housing Scheme brief to produce an idealised master plan for the proposed development of mixed tenure bungalows using Garden City and Eco-Town principles to help the council address a number of priority areas such as healthcare, social care and economic development through the simple building of a few bungalows. There is nothing intrinsically wrong with development. All the beautiful places you know and love, such as the centre of this beautiful town, are full of buildings, roads and traffic, often very densely packed, but still convenient places to live, work and play. Think then of the plethora of cul-de-sacs on the outskirts, each effectively a load of brick boxes around a car park, and the quality of environment they create. With the One Scheme master plan, we turn this on its head. The enjoyment of pedestrians and residents takes priority, with all buildings clustered quietly around communal green spaces and looking out onto further green spaces that also double as food production and leisure spaces. The master plan, which is designed to extend an existing settlement but has no specific site at the moment, is distilled down from the Garden City principle of core and satellites separated by open countryside and farms and connected by roads and footpaths. Oops. To assist in realistic space planning, we have developed an indicative L-shaped, fully accessible plan to the dwellings, a 600 square foot one bed, providing a private courtyard, and a 690 square foot two bed bungalow with private off-street parking and moderate private garden space. The proposed development is broken down into clusters of 10. The L-shaped units are used to generate an enclosed shape, defining a walled garden. Cars are confined to the edges on shared surfaces where pedestrians have priority. Children will not be playing in the roads, more that the cars will be driving on the pavement. 80% of the dwellings are provided with in-curtilage parking spaces with electric charging points, but these do not dominate. The clusters can be arranged to suit overall density. In excess of 25 dwellings per hectare is possible. We have alternative models that accommodate everything from studio flats to large detached dwellings, but the focus of this brief is on bungalows for the over 55s. The master plan is based on 60 bungalows in 6 clusters of 10. The roads enter from the south, wrapping around to the east and west, providing a largely car-free core to the development, covering approximately 3.75 hectares at a rate of 16 dwellings per hectare. At the centre are allotments and communal orchard around a central leisure space, leading to a woodland area and children's adventure play area to the north. There's 50% green space, half of it of allotments and the orchard. The clusters are unified by a screen wall to both the perimeter and within to define homes and private courtyards looking out into communal spaces. All the clusters are linked to each other and to public transport by car-free footpaths. And there we see the roads, the dark grey, vehicle only, are kept to the perimeter where buses and cars can not cross the pedestrian routes, with shared surface driveways providing vehicle access to each individual dwelling. The overall conception from an aerial view. The master plan will be adapted to a site-specific conditions and local context, and a number of optional sites are being considered at the moment, to which the master plan will adapt. We consider the development will be a positive addition to the landscape and not be something to be feared, another field to be built on. Wait for the technology to catch up. The gardens will be beautiful, perhaps centred around a mature tree and a lawn, but also low maintenance and providing leisure activity for some of the residents to plant and maintain, with the inclusion of a communal shed and perhaps greenhouse. Each dwelling's principal access is from this communal side, with windows facing out, poking through the garden wall, as well as into private courtyard itself, into the private courtyard, which itself has an ability to provide views in and out depending on the desires of the residents at a particular time. The dwellings themselves, built using modern methods of construction and fitted with assistive tech, are on the face of it fairly conventional. L-shaped 1- and 2-bed bungalows designed to lifetime home standards, and orientated east-west to control solar gain and provide good lighting throughout the day, especially through the inclusion of well-placed roof lights. Each house has its own solar array facing south, private courtyard gardens, space to park mobility scooters and wheelchairs, and most have an electric vehicle charging point. Although we anticipate car ownership will diminish in favour of car clubs and efficient public transport, or the simple act of being able to walk to all the amenities necessary. With this view of the entrance garden court, we think with the first built example, the team will be able to show that housing, designed and built with thought and care, can not only address many of the needs of society, but create beautiful places to live and be a welcome addition to our towns and villages. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. You can move me in straight away, I think. Shall we have a break? I think that would be brilliant. So let's have a break. 11:25 back in here with Tim Smith and Gemma Davies. You've got the Hayden Smith room. You've got the rooms to explore. You've got the bus to book your dementia tour in. Go and have fun. Thank you very much.